everyone, and welcome to Vibration, where I empower individuals to speak their distinct truth, passions, and personal message on a global online stage. I'm your host, Michelle McDonald, passionate author, speaker, and entrepreneur. And tonight I am excited to get into a topic that truly connects to the journey that all of us want to experience. Poetry is one of the most connective ways that we can tap into our inner selves and also express ourselves in a way that verbal communication simply cannot do. Poetry is captivating, healing, awe inspiring, and profound. In connection with our theme, Representation Matters, Faces of the Caribbean. Tonight's topic is trusting yourself along the path to self discovery and enlightenment with my guest speaker, Rosena Duncanson, who is a passionate writer, mentor, life coach, and first time published poetry author of the book Memories of a Misguided Rose. Rosena has attained many professional accolades and takes part in both civic and professional development organizations. She is passionate about youth development and embraces this, as well as helping others through mentoring and coordinating various volunteer initiatives, including Toastmasters youth leadership programs and a recent Read Aloud initiative that was connected with a local primary school to promote literacy in the Bahamas. Born in the beautiful islands of the Bahamas, Rosena is a lover of art, music, and nature scenes. Rosena, welcome to the stage tonight.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm so grateful to be here this evening.
Yes, this is something that a lot of us poets are excited to get into. We don't usually get to talk about the craft, hear about the craft, and also celebrate someone who has stepped out and published her first poetry book. So, of course, kudos to you on that. I applaud you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So, in regard to all of this, what has inspired you to continue the craft of poetry and your writing?
I think what inspired me to continue is I knew what it did for me when I was in college. So as a college student, far from home, away from friends, away from, close family, it's a lonely place, especially when you go to a big school in a different country. And I honestly felt like I had no one to talk to and no outlet. And I realized that the writing started then, somewhere to go that was safe, that belonged to me, and I can express myself unfiltered and not criticized. But then I realized that there are moments when it just hits me. Words just come and I just write it down and I notice that it flows. And so I kept doing it. And it has been a source of support, a source of
Mhm.
encouragement. And as you mentioned, just in artwork, sometimes the writing is so imaginary that it takes me somewhere different. So it has so many wonderful components to it. So I've just opted to continue.
And I love that because sometimes we start something and we tend to feel like, is this just a phase? Is this just something I'm doing now and I'm just going to grow out of it? Maybe I've become more of an extrovert. So I'm
Mhm.
more social and I'm talking. And so, maybe poetry doesn't quite fit, but I love the fact that you understood the meaning that it has for you and you kept that close. And you are also at the stage where you're able to express and share that with others.
Mhm. I think that expression part is really what I'm surprised by personally,
Okay.
because when I started to write, it was never meant to be shared with anybody ever at all. And
Mhm.
so I think it takes a lot of, I would say, growth, because sometimes I don't feel so brave. So I wouldn't call it bravery, but I definitely call it, there's an ounce of courage, knowing that it may not always feel good in the moment, but the end goal, someone else can be able to benefit from your words and your expressions and your feelings is really where the focus is. So, yes, it may be a bit vulnerable, but the end result is not about you, it's for somebody else.
I love that because you are so right. As a fellow poet, when I first discovered that this was a writing talent that I had, as you mentioned, you kind of go into your zone, your little cubby hole where you're comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
and you just kind of feel like, the words on the page, they don't judge me. I can just express myself freely.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're at just this young age. And so everything just kind of flows. And it's like, this is mine, this special book, whether it
Mm-hmm.
be like his little black book or something with a lot of colors and stuff that you really like that encourages you, like, this is
Mm-hmm.
mine, I'm going to hold it close and it's just going to be mine forever. So as
Yes.
you stated, because you were able to step outside of yourself and you thought about persons who would have felt the same way that you did, but
Mm-hmm.
did not have that writing ability to express the same thing, and you were like, you know what? I'm going to put myself out there for them. Like,
Yeah.
I see you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the thing is, there are a lot of persons that just want to be seen, they just want to be understood.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to find a collection of poems that they can relate to is something that is so healing and profound for them. And so I really appreciate the fact that you were able to create and publish this book so that they can find themselves again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, trusting ourselves, this is very tricky. Outside of just, the regular space of kind of, I have an examination, or,
Mm-hmm.
what outfit should I try on, or I
Mm-hmm.
have a speech today, what should I say? It's difficult. But
Yeah.
now when we think about our journey, our personal journey to self-discovery and self-enlightenment, just growth in general, girl, it is hard.
Who are you telling? Who are you telling? And the truth is, it doesn't really stop, right?
Mm,
I shared with a friend just the other day that every time you step out, you may notice a different version of you or
mm.
something that you may not have realized is still a part of you that may pop out. We call them triggers. Something
Yes.
that says, did you feel that? Why did you feel that? What
Yeah.
is going on with you? And then you start to really get to know yourself a little better. What makes me happy? What makes me angry? What makes me feel uncomfortable? And all those feelings and being open and aware to them is a new space to be in if you're not someone who's already self aware.
Definitely. And as you stated, being able to have that self assessment, but also allowing yourself to be both honest
Mm-hmm.
and comfortable at the same time,
Yeah.
which for a lot of us, it's like we're seeing ourselves for the first time. Do you know what I mean? Like, you not only just kind of feel it emotionally, but now mentally, it's like I'm exposed.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So, what would you say, based on your writing and your personal experience, what is the key to allowing ourselves to trust ourselves on this journey?
First is honesty. Back to when I started writing, because no one was going to read it, I was able to be completely honest and transparent. I can really say how I was truly feeling, whether I was hurt, whether I was happy, whether I was in a, feeling of euphoria, whatever it was, I was able to write it down and be free to express myself. I think it took a few years later as I reread the poems and I noticed that some of the poems were very similar. A
Mm,
few years might pass, but the feelings were the same or the experiences were the same. And it made me question, are we on a hamster wheel? For the bad feelings, why are we going through these feelings again? And then
mhm.
for the good feelings, okay, great. I see growth. I see us stepping out. I see us getting more comfortable. And so it was an ability for me to be able to kind of look back on where I've been, what I
Mm,
repeated, and what I've moved on from. And it gave me a sense of, I could call it pride, being proud of myself for stepping out and stepping forward and not being able to stay where I was. And then, of course, you get validation from people around you. I see your growth. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being so honest. Thank you for helping
yes.
me. And you realize that your experiences, if you are honest and true, can support and help someone else. So the very first thing is being completely honest with, most importantly, yourself, first and foremost, and then being honest with others.
Mm. Yes, very, very big step because sometimes when we think about these things and we reflect, there's that word forgiveness. And that is heavy,
Yeah.
heavy, heavy, heavy because there's this combination of I can't face it, so how can I even forgive myself?
Yeah.
But then, as you stated, being honest with others, and we seek this validation, this forgiveness for them, from them that we can't even put into words, and
Mhm.
it's just such a difficult space to be in. But as you stated, this is a part of the journey. And sometimes in understanding that that forgiveness may not come directly from them.
That's a very powerful statement you made just now, Michelle, forgiveness. And I don't think I ever realized it until the moment you said it just now, that there is a level of forgiveness, which is a part of letting go, moving on and saying, yes, today has happened. What's done is done. Let's go on to the next step. Because the truth is, I kept the book on the shelf for many years, feeling like there's no way I can tell someone that I went through these things and feel okay, because judgment, like you said, not forgiving oneself for making choices, etc. But now at a point of, I've accepted what's done is done, and there's nothing I can do to change it. And what's done is done, and I can help someone else not to make some of those decisions, or to be able to take, page of my book, like they say, and be able to step forward with one extra tip that I didn't have when I got started, right? And so that's really the truth, being able to forgive yourself and let go, and your testimony, the things that you went through that you were able to get over, let those be your drivers and support for somebody else.
Absolutely. The thing is, there are a lot of persons that are just seeking hope. And it's so amazing that through words, because words are so powerful, there's a
Mhm.
lot of focus on, of course, what we say, law of attraction, words of
Mhm.
affirmation, but it's also what we read, what we digest. Because we all have our individual journeys, we interpret words so differently.
Yeah.
So, as you stated, that one poem in your book can trigger someone in a good way.
Yeah.
To kind of be like, you know what? I forgive myself. I give myself permission to love again, to
Hmm.
find joy, to love myself, to
Yeah.
see myself.
Yes, absolutely.
Heavy, heavy stuff. So, in talking about your book and the points that you have allowed the world to get a glimpse into, which one of these points has the most meaning to you?
I think they all have a different meaning, so it'll be hard to pick just one to say it has the most meaning. But when I thought about, if I had to pick just one poem to start with, which one would it be? And I thought about why I started writing in the first place. And if you don't mind, I'd like to read it to you. It's
Definitely.
one poem in particular that really stood out when I thought about when I started to write, what caused it. And this one is called The Noise of Silence. Could you imagine you want to have a conversation with someone and they don't want to talk to you? Or you have no one to talk to and you're stuck in a space by yourself with only your thoughts? The noise of silence. How loud silence speaks, echoing with anger in our head when something is wrong or doesn't go our way. Silence, filled with tension, anxiousness, making blood boil, flowing at high speeds through our bodies. Silence that increases our heart rates, heartbeats never heard before. Boom, boom, when there's silence. Silence, those words unspoken that could have kept the peace. Silence, stirring up anger, discomfort, bad feelings from those unsaid emotions, thoughts, the noise, the unheard noise within us, in our heads, under our skin. The noise of silence can bring back memories, memories of laughter, cheerfulness, time well spent, the giggles from playful acts, the moans and groans. Silence.
Wow. Girl, I feel like I am in the poetry club right now. I gotta give you your clips. That was powerful.
So that
Yes.
one started me off. Silence. knowing that who was I going to talk to and who's going to listen.
Yes. And I really love the different layers that you had with the definition of the word silence, how it can impact you. People usually think, okay, if it's silent, there's no sound, but there is,
Mm-hmm.
and it hits different. It
Mm-hmm.
really does. Thank you for sharing that with
You're
us.
welcome.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So now, as a published first time poetry author, what has been your most rewarding experience thus far?
So I'll start with the journey. As I said, I was never, ever, ever going to let this go. But it was Valentine's Day, year before last, when I said, you know what? It's time. My love to myself is letting go the things of yesterday. And so I signed with a publishing company and said, let's do this. And the journey was longer than I expected. And I even went as far as changing the name because as I read through the poems and as I thought through what it was definitely memories of a time when I perhaps could have done things different than I didn't. So memories of a misguided rose. But here we are. And what I think is most rewarding is one, getting to the point of letting it go was a big step for me. And even down to before the release date, I questioned, should I even do this? Should I pull some of the poems out? Because they're vulnerable. I'm literally exposing my heart to the world. And what if they don't receive it? And that is an honest feeling. And I had to remind myself it's not about you any longer. You've been through it, and now it's about helping someone else. And I've heard that. Persons who have read it said, I felt what you went through. I understood. Or someone even said, thank you for sharing that. I always felt this way, but I never could put it in words. And I said, okay, now I understand the assignment. It's not about me, it's allowing someone else to have the words that they perhaps cannot speak. And I've already been through it. And they can say, yes, me too. I'm not alone in this and I have support. And to me, that is the most rewarding thing that I'm able to support in even just a small way, someone emotionally to say, I can overcome this and move on from this because it's been done and it can be done again.
Absolutely. And I really like how you emphasized letting go. This is something that a lot of people yearn for,
Mm-hmm.
they struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
Because letting go means that we have to be very real, honest, genuine with
Mm-hmm.
our own selves.
Yeah.
And it takes that concept of stepping outside of your comfort zone to a whole other level.
Once you know.
You're just like, what is happening? I don't understand. Is this real? And as you stated, sometimes we feel like I'm elevated,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm better than I was last year, 2 years ago. I'm good. I'm healed. I'm grown. Then we get that trigger.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, no, no. No, growth ain't finished yet.
Not yet.
We
Not
got
yet.
some healing to do. And we're just like, no, no, what's happening? This is
Mm-hmm.
too unfamiliar for me.
Yeah.
And now we have to step back and be like, I have to. So as you stated, this pattern, if I notice a pattern, that is a piece of wisdom to keep.
Yeah.
But now I have to learn how to let go of this thing.
Mm-hmm. I think you said something so profound. You may think you're good. My book is out, and people might think, oh, she's good. She got her book out. She is healed. It's just a chapter. It's definitely just a chapter because as things come up, I see chapter two and chapter three being written and still being written. It's definitely a process. And being okay with not being okay is truly important. You mentioned forgiveness, and I think that forgiveness is something that we take for granted. It's not just a, monthly, annual, yearly thing. It's a moment by moment thing. Something gets you upset and you feel like I should be over this by now. Forgive yourself. It's okay.
Yes.
Now the question is, why aren't you over it? Spend some time saying, okay, it's okay. that you're not okay. Now let's try to fix it. But you've got to be able to moment by moment say, I'm okay. And let's continue to work on the journey. It's okay to fall back for a moment, but what are you going to do next? And that's the most important thing, to keep moving forward, to keep saying, let's get up, let's try again.
Yes, definitely. And there's such beauty in giving ourselves grace. We give
Mm-hmm.
it so freely to our loved ones, our friends, our family. We're like, of course, I forgive you. I love you. It's just, we're talking about, what you talk about.
Yeah.
But for ourselves, we're just so hard,
Yeah.
so hard. We're just like, how could you? We feel like we've done like the ultimate betrayal of ourselves, and we
Mm-hmm.
stop our own growth. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think so. My book is called Memories of a Misguided Rose, and it's a journey of heartbreak, love, and self discovery. And even though the heartbreak didn't all come first, because there was some love first, the heartbreak came after as usual.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I am grateful for is that I have not lost a desire to love. Sometimes things hurt us and we say, you know what, I'm done. I'm never going to feel again, love again, be happy again. And it's understandable that those feelings come, but with that grace, with that forgiveness, with that acceptance of loving yourself first, you will always love, even if you love just you.
Mhm.
Persons may not even realize that they've hurt us, they have no clue what they're doing to us. And being able to express ourselves is so critical. Being able to communicate first with ourselves to say, did you feel that? You know what's going on? And then to express it clearly. This is how you made me feel. This is what you've done. This is what's happening. And if they choose to listen, perfect. If they choose not to listen, then consider who you're spending time around, because you want to keep people around that's going to help you to feel your true self, your authentic self. And that's just the way it is.
And I really like how you touched on how important self love is. When we get into self discovery,
Mm-hmm.
enlightenment, the journey, working through all of that heartache, having that self love, that is the ultimate anchor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Mm-hmm.
that that's what actually protects us in a healthy way. Because
Yes.
especially as women, we can put that self protection mode on hard. And it can become toxic, but we don't even realize it. We're just like, no, 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 it's not happening again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like this, and that's it. And
Yeah.
we keep blocking,
Yeah.
and it doesn't serve us.
Yeah. I think luckily for me, I have realized that if I take a bit of empathy, so I know I've been through some things, I say, you know what? They may have been through some things as well.
Yeah.
I have had the opportunity to get to know myself a little better. I give them grace, saying maybe they don't know themselves that well. What I've also done though is not expect them to adjust or change because I say so, I ask them to either. So expectation is out the door. Because that also causes great disappointments when we expect people, oh, you hurt my feelings, and then just go ahead and fix it. They're not probably going to fix it right away. That's just not going to happen.
It's
But the
true.
most important thing is that you are able to express yourself and you have the freedom to do so. And so the biggest thing I think is accepting that everybody's gone through some level of something in their lives. They've all gone through some feeling of hurt, pain, trauma, but not everyone is able to talk about it. Not everyone is able to deal with it and cope with it. And we all manage things differently. And so being very understanding and empathetic is also key as well to help us to be a little more, supportive with each other.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think that one of the best gifts that we can give ourselves and others is to remember to be human.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is just like tapping into our emotional selves, remembering how we were. Like, I really, really appreciated how you stated that we can recognize we've been through something.
Yeah.
But you also stated that that person that has hurt us, and we expect them to know like how bad you hurt us, how angry I am right now,
Mm-hmm.
that they too could have experienced some
Yeah.
form of trauma,
Yeah.
some negative experience that has caused them to be this way. And a lot of us are not able to even fathom that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As I started writing in the later years, the self-discovery and the more aware years, the expectation now is for my heart. Oftentimes I blame someone else for breaking my heart and taking pieces of my heart. But the truth is, we're supposed to come whole. We're supposed to come whole and hold on to our heart. And if we're all whole, it's very difficult for them to take from us because they have their own heart too. So I think most times we are all coming in with these broken pieces and looking for someone else to fill us up, and they can't because they're looking for the same thing, right? Everyone's looking to be filled, and no one's giving anything away. And so
Right.
it's important to all come at least whole, so we're all sharing and giving versus taking.
Absolutely. That's a very relatable example, right? So you're either the person who's like, okay, I'm keeping all of my pieces together. I'm not
Mhm.
really going to share, but I expect you to like add, you have to add to it. Or I come and I have my pieces and I just kind of give them to you. So
Yeah.
just like, are you going to mend them for me? And it's just, as you stated, it's so unrealistic because if we're
Mhm.
all doing that same thing, no one's getting the healing.
Yep. Yeah.
We're missing that. It starts with us. We have to do the work.
Yeah. It's hard, Michelle. It's hard, Michelle, because we're coming in looking for someone to make us feel good, to make us feel
Mhm.
loved, to make us feel pretty, to make us feel whatever. We're looking for someone else to do what we should be doing ourselves. And if they don't do it, they fall short. Oh, he didn't love me properly because he didn't make me feel pretty. He didn't make me feel special. He didn't make me feel loved. You giving him a lot of work. He's just a man. He's just a man. He is not God.
So true. PSA.
And so I really do feel, man, I'm so sorry that we do that to you sometimes because we put a lot of pressure on men to
Mhm.
be able to just fill up us. And the
Yes.
truth is, we got to come filled. We got to come whole. We got to come knowing that we're beautiful, we're special, we're talented, we're unique. We're
Mm.
just phenomenal women. We have all that we need, and that's enough. We are enough just the way we are.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes, girl. I like that you said that because a lot of the men, when we go to them with these expectations, they look at us because they're like, I don't know how to do that. And it's not an insult to us. They don't have the experience. They don't understand. A lot of men were not taught to be emotionally available. And
Yep.
so, the things that we seek, that we experience, that we read about, that we prepare ourselves for, they really just don't, they can't hit those notes,
Yeah.
and so it's just such a very, very powerful reminder to love ourselves first, put the
Hmm.
expectations, healthy ones, on
Yeah.
ourselves, to be kind, to
Yeah.
be graceful, to be loving, to be forgiving.
What I
And
like my book for is, to your point, a lot of men are emotionally unavailable, and it's sadly sometimes no fault of their own. We think about how some women raise their boys. Boys are taught to be tough and to be strong and don't cry and don't
Mhm.
whine and don't do all these things. And, they're supposed to be men from their boys. And so they don't know how to express their emotions and their sadness and their pain. And so they are just, they grew up numb. They grew up numb. And so I'm also hoping that the pain in my book is not to make them feel guilty, but to make them aware.
Yes.
Women are hurting, and sometimes you don't get to hear it in the right voice because they're coming either very angry or very bitter, and they're not expressing themselves properly, and men shut down. If you come in the wrong, communication style, no one's listening. And so being able to have now a way of communicating so that they can listen in their own time, their own pace, so they can say, oh, wow, I did not know that a woman can feel this way, because some men are unaware of how we
Yes.
truly feel and what truly pains us. And then also the next step is for us to become a little more open to allow them to express themselves and be understanding too. Because we look for men to be a different species other than human. The same emotions we have, they have too. The
Yes.
same feelings we have, they have also. And so trying our best to be as open as we expect them to be, we should be the same for them, especially when they come vulnerable and open to share.
Definitely. Something that we really don't consider when we go into relationships. We expect that, I am the soft, delicate flower protect me, love me,
Mm-hmm.
respect me, guide me. And we don't ever think that, as you stated, these exact same emotions, these wants, these desires, men want those things too.
Yes.
It's in a different way, a
Mm-hmm.
different package, but they still want to be seen, loved, held,
Yeah.
remembered. We kind of make a lot of jokes about Father's Day and, birthday gifts for
Yeah.
guys. What do you buy a guy? I got no idea. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
the thing is, they appreciate something that is genuine. You remember them, right? You love them. So
Yeah.
if we keep this in mind, I think that both genders can just be kinder to each other within the relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's going to take some time, though. It's going to take some time because back to what we said before, both parties need to be healed.
Mm-hmm.
Both parties need to come whole and be prepared to give versus take, right? If
Yeah.
everybody's coming to give, then everybody's happy.
Mm-hmm.
But if only one person is giving and one person is taking, it's kind of hard.
Yes. Yes. And so you don't get that restoration and you just tend to feel drained and empty
Yep,
at the end of the day.
exactly.
But of course, through publications like your book, we are able to kind of understand, what is this pattern that's happening? How can I stop it? How can I, more importantly, be better to
Mm-hmm.
myself, for myself, and then decide, am I ready
Yeah.
for another relationship? And then go about it in a much better way.
That right there is a question, Michelle. Am I ready for another relationship? We're all
Mm.
looking to have companionship, and nobody really wants to be by themselves. And so we rush in and then we keep hitting our toe. We rush in, keep hitting our toe because we never learned to look or see things for what they really are.
Mm.
And so, definitely something to ponder. Did you pause long enough to know where you're going?
Yes. Yes. Very good question because, especially from high school, it's just familiar. Like, okay, I have a boyfriend.
Yep.
Him, we going, we just going out. And sometimes we minimize it, right? Go, this ain't nothing. Like, we're just cool. It's cool. But if you take the time to kind of step back and evaluate your life, you're like, I've always had a guy in
Mm-hmm.
my life.
Mm-hmm.
Do I know what it means like to have my own company, but more importantly, understand like what am I truly looking for
Yeah.
in the type of guy that I desire?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the tough question, especially with persons who are in long-term relationships or marriage. Like you're ready to a point where there is no by yourself. So how do you still find yourself in this space of now being involved? But it does take you being silent, being still for a moment, finding your quiet corner and just really being intentional about reflecting on who you are, what you want, and what you're going to do. And the prayer is that once you've done that, your partner is still able to continue to grow with you because heaven forbid you find yourself and now you want something totally different. If you're
Mhm.
ready in a committed relationship, it's not easy to just say, oh, you know what? I'm no longer on that journey with you anymore. I'm out. No, it's now time to find a way to evolve together and grow together, going back to being open and honest, and being vulnerable, and both parties being prepared to give and provide that support that you may need to be able to be authentically you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that because, of course, there are audience members who would be in that situation asking that very question. I want to experience self discovery and enlightenment, or I feel like I'm already on that journey, but I'm with someone. So, how do I do that? What does this look like? And so, you've now been able to verbalize an answer that
Yeah.
gives them a sense of hope. And just to know that I can still do that. It's a natural desire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're supposed to grow together. We're supposed to grow together as friends, as partners, as relationships. If you have someone that's truly for you, they're supposed to support you in your growth journey. And even though men may not be seen as flowers, I think we all have a, floral type arena. We need to be watered, fertilized, pruned, and allowed to grow and have our space in our room to grow. And so my hope and prayer for everybody is that they find partnership, friendships where they are properly watered, fertilized, and pruned just enough to be able to be their best, bright, blooming self.
I love that. Thank you. I receive it. We all receive it. I love- Thank you so much.
You're
Rosina,
welcome.
You have shared so many introspective gems with us. If there is a woman listening right now who is seeking, yearning to experience self enlightenment and discovery, what is one thing you would want her to know?
The one thing I would want her to know is today is where you start. Doesn't matter what happened yesterday, doesn't matter what tomorrow looks like. Today is where you start. You have an amazing gift that nobody else has. You are one of a kind. Get to truly know your gift and then share your gift. You do not want to keep your gift to yourself, but you will not be able to be your true and best self if you don't take the time to know your gift and share your gift. And remember, that gift is only yours. You are the only one with it, and let no one tell you otherwise. Share and be your best self. And that is how you can be authentic, you can be enlightened, and you can be true to you.
I love it. I love it. And I know that someone felt that today, to allow themselves to absorb those words and accept this is me. She's talking about me.
Mhm.
I have this inside of me. Let me now share this gift with the world.
Michelle, the hardest thing has always been where someone tells you that what you do is not good enough. You
Mm.
talk too soft, you talk too loud, you're too bubbly, you're too silent, you're too withdrawn, you're too extroverted, you're too whatever you are. And for a long time, I listened to all of those things and I believed them. I believed that someone else was the picture of what I was supposed to be, and it doesn't work. You cannot be anyone else but yourself. And at a time when it matters most, your bubbly personality is the perfect personality. Your quiet personality is the perfect personality. And so you just need to wait for the right moment for your best self to be what's needed. Because who they are may not be what's needed at the time. So be true to yourself, but you will not be ready if you keep trying to be someone you're not. And so the first thing is get to know you, who you are, what your gifts are. So when it's time to unpackage those gifts, you are ready to share. And that is the most important thing.
Ooh, thank you for that. Very powerful word. Very, very powerful. Rosina, you have given us just a glimpse of what is inside your book, but it is incredibly impactful. And it also helps both male and female to understand certain dynamics when it comes to relationships, remembering ourselves, not
Mhm.
having these high, unrealistic expectations that we place on others, but instead remembering to love ourselves, continue to check in on a regular basis,
Mhm.
and knowing that self honesty is hard,
Yeah,
but it is necessary
absolutely.
for our own growth. And I think one of the most important things that you mentioned was asking ourselves that question: are we ready for a relationship? Many of us do not give ourselves enough time, but you
Mhm.
have reminded us that we need to. That is a part of the check in process. And so, of course, we have to know, how can we support you, get a copy of your book? Do you have any more book signing events coming up? I know you've been in Roxanne and Luther, you've been two spots in New Providence. So fill us up. Let us know what's up.
So, first, my book is available on most major platforms. So, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million. So, you can get the book anywhere online. Just type in good old Google Memories of a Misguided Rose, and it'll pop up on most major sites. And feel free to purchase it there online. The book is also available locally in Nassau, Bahamas, coming up on this Saturday, actually,
Ah,
at the Onyx Beauty Salon, which is on Mackey Street. There is a pop up event with different creatives that are going to be there. There's a fashion designer, and there's some selling t shirts, and there's a lot of different creative things that are going to be there. And I'll also be there as well, selling books and having a little poetry moment. And so stop on in to Onyx Beauty Salon on Mackey Street for the next event on this Saturday, June 24th. And that is what's coming up next. But don't delay. There are so many other things that are coming up in the near future. You can follow me on social media platforms. I'm on Facebook at Rosena M. Duncanson. There's also a web page that I have, rosenaduncanson.com. Go ahead and subscribe so that you can get newsletters of upcoming events. But I am so ready to connect, to share, and to support persons on their journey because I understand that it's definitely a process and it's always better together.
definitely, because oftentimes we really feel alone. We know it's a process that we want to go through, and a lot of us are just so scared to make that first step. So, as
Mm-hmm.
you stated, if we know that we have that support, someone who's genuinely interested in our growth, we are more than delighted to get started and just keep
Mm-hmm.
going. And of course, we are excited about your upcoming events on Saturday. So we are going
Mm-hmm.
to make sure to share this out so that persons will know and be there, get their personal signed copy, meet the
Yes.
author. Hey, ask those burning questions because she shared so much with us tonight.
Yes, please.
And she is more than willing to guide you and help you. And you'll be able to have that book, keep it close, and yeah, stay connected.
Thank you.
Rosina, thank you so much for your transparency throughout tonight's episode. You have shared so much with us and given us a lot of introspection when it comes to relationships, most importantly, the ones we have with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding the value of that, having our self assessment, being honest, even when it hurts,
Yeah.
even when it hurts, and also acknowledging that not everyone else comes equipped to match the expectations that we have. Remember to giving ourselves and others grace, empathy at all times.
Yes.
And most importantly, that it is possible to trust ourselves on the path of self discovery and enlightenment. You have shared all of the ways that we can connect with you. So there is no reason we cannot find you, especially if we just type into that Google. So many of us will be able to get our hands on a copy of your book. I want to
Awesome.
thank everyone for joining us tonight, our audience, especially our guest speaker who is empowering us through her book. She stepped out, believed in herself, but most importantly, she believed in you to give you the power to believe in yourself. And there it is. It's beautiful.
So
There it
ensure
is.
you get your coffee. And like I said, please connect and stay in touch.
Absolutely. So, everyone, if you're just tuning in, you can watch the full episode on YouTube and Facebook. And I invite you to join me next week for another episode of Vibration, where we raise your frequency and amplify your truth. Bye, everyone.